BamaCentral.com. I'm Joey Blackwell here with Katie Windham and Tony Tsoukalas, and this is 3 and Out. While Alabama might not have made it past the first round of the NCAA tournament in softball, the Women's College World Series final starts tonight between Texas and Oklahoma, two teams, obviously, that are gridlocked in a rivalry, the Red River rivalry, to be more specific. But these two teams are also slated to join the SEC within the next few years, and it's really brought a spotlight to just not only we all know how much power they're bringing to the conference in terms of football, but also in terms of other successful sports. Katie, what does this mean, having, two programs that are so successful at multiple sports coming to the conference?
Yeah, I think this just kind of shows it's a taste of what's to come in the SEC. Like you talked about football, we all know. Basketball, we've seen some good matchups between Alabama and Oklahoma and Texas. But softball, 3 of the 4 teams in the finals this year were from the Big 12. But 2 of those 3 are moving on to the SEC. And the SEC the last couple of years has been the best conference in college softball. And they struggled a little bit this year in the postseason. Only 1 team made the World Series in Florida. But that was super unusual. And so Oklahoma overall has been the most dominant program in college softball for the last couple of years. They're on the verge for repeating as national champions tonight. Have been in the finals a lot lately. We've seen some epic matchups between them and Alabama in softball, and it's just another rivalry that's going to continue over into the sport of softball. And it's just going to continue to add to the depth of the league. Alabama and Texas played this year. Alabama won both. I believe Alabama is going to make a return trip to Texas in 2023. And then the next year, both the Sooners and the Longhorns will be in the conference. And it just continues to add to that depth and the gauntlet of the SEC. But it's going to be a huge wake-up call for Oklahoma and Texas, who've kind of been able to slide through the Big 12 with Oklahoma State being the other only good team. Oklahoma has been the most dominant program, no doubt, but they have not had to face the week in and week out competition that they will have to when they come over to the SEC.
I mean, that's a good point. This might be the most competitive, league in college sports when you look at the SEC softball. I mean, Vanderbilt doesn't have a team, so there's only 13 SEC teams right now. 12 of them made it. If you were to put Texas and Oklahoma into that mix, you'd have 14 of the 15 possible teams to make the NCAA tournament. Like what other league has that, And so I think it's going to be absolutely crazy to add, an Oklahoma when you already have, an Alabama and a Florida, and now you're adding Texas too. So I mean, like you could have, easily at any point in the season, 5 of the top 10 teams from the SEC. That's crazy. I mean, and then it spreads out because you could probably have like 7 of the top 15 and, 10 of the top 20. I mean, it's really a crazy league right now. So it's going to be interesting to see how Oklahoma and Texas are, if they're able to, kind of maintain that dominance when they have to play a harder schedule. And it's also going to be interesting to see, how like an Alabama does with even more competition, because there's really going to be no off weeks or no easy weeks in the SEC. Not like there really was, but it's just going to get harder and harder. I'm excited to see it. Obviously, other sports, basketball will help. Those are 2 schools that are pretty good at basketball. 2 schools that, especially with Texas, is pretty decent at baseball. So, it's an interesting addition. I think those 2 schools are 2 of the, kind of blue blood programs in college football of almost any sport. So it's nice to have them in the conference.
Yeah, that's what I was going to bring up too, Tony, talking about Texas and baseball. Texas also has a very solid baseball team. They were ranked number 1 for a decent portion of the season this year before Tennessee kind of stole the show. Oklahoma, I think, has a good program as well, but just speaks to the fact of how much more competitive the SEC is going to get over the next few years, even though it's already one of the most competitive conferences in all of college sports. For BamaCentral.com, I'm Joey Blackwell with Katie Windham and Tony Tsoukalas. This has been 3 and Out. Thank you so much for watching.